Hello everyone and welcome to another Motive tutorial video. In this video I'll be going over a skeleton tutorial. I'm going to be using the skeleton 1 intro from the sample data. So I'm going to start by opening my project pane and let's open the timeline too. So in here, make sure skeletons are turned on. Let's go ahead and update this marker set so we can see our marker sticks and colors. I'm going to select the chest and turn this follow selected on. Let's go to right about here, around 653 frames, somewhere around there. And you'll see that the skeleton isn't solving quite right. And this can sometimes happen with a skeleton solve. Sometimes markers will be occluded and the skeleton solve won't be quite right. So there's a couple things we can do. We can go in here, let's hide our skeleton. We can go in here, open the labeling pane, and we could manually label all of these markers. So we could see that the left shoulder isn't labeled correctly and label it right here. The left pinky, left hand in, we could label all these markers correctly, or we could just label one of them and let the auto labeler do some more work. So I'm going to go and grab the left wrist. Make sure I'm in quick label mode, and I'm just going to label that marker. That one should be the left wrist. So we'll go to this take and auto label. And then this will do a whole auto labeling process. And now you can see that it's labeling these wrist markers a little bit better than what we had before. So now this arm looks much better. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what kind of happens during this whole process of manual labeling, and Motive always respects your labels. So let me delete the marker labels. Let's select our take and delete our marker labels. And go back to about the 650 frame around there. And I know that this one is the thumb, but I'm going to label it, let's see, left wrist out. So I know that this one is supposed to be the left wrist out, but I'm going to label this one the left wrist out, and we'll see what happens. So now you can see that the skeleton solve is incorrect, but at all times Motive is going to try its best to make sure that, let me turn my labels on, that this marker right here is wrist out. Let me follow select is on so we can scrub through this take. So it's trying its very best to make sure that label is respected, and everything else it's going to auto label. So things like the waist, the feet, it's not really affected by this label, but a lot of stuff that does with the arm and hand, it's going to be affected by this label, and Motive is respecting this label and then doing its best to solve the skeleton. So let me just go back one more time and I'll show you a little bit of manual labeling here. So we know that that's not the wrist, so we can delete that label right there. We could go in here, we could set our quick label, we could label that the wrist out. I know that the left pinky is going to be right here. The left hand in, I think, is already correctly labeled right here. Yeah, we can label the left hand in anyway. The left thumb is right here. The left index is going to be up here. And then what do I have left? The left hand out is going to be right there. And then the left hand in is right here. All right, so the left hand out was over on the other side. So you can see that was kind of a manual labeling process, and it took a little bit longer. But now Motive is going to respect all of these manual labels that we have just done during the auto labeling process. And now you can see that during this take, the skeleton is solving with all of our manual labeled markers. And this happens from time to time on skeleton solves, but just to let you know, I did kind of cheat here. I actually labeled one of these wrist markers up here to begin with, and this skeleton actually solves fine if we go and delete the marker labels, and then we just let the auto labeler run by itself. It's going to label the skeleton just fine. So you can see that the skeleton is labeled fine, but if you want to play around with these auto-labeling features some more, I'll show you what I did to set up this take. I just went to my labeling pane, and then I took the left wrist out, and I labeled it somewhere wacky, like up by the shoulder here. And now we have a really weird solve here, and you can see it snap to that solve. So yes, you could label the left wrist out. I'm going to turn my marker labels off. So you could label the left wrist out, you know, somewhere weird like right here, and it's going to give you a very odd skeleton solve. And then when you do a auto label process, it's going to keep that label right there, and you'll get a very, very odd skeleton solve. And then you can play around with manual labeling or labeling one marker and seeing how the skeleton solve reacts. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the skeleton tutorial number 1. Look for the other tutorial videos on our website, as well as our playlist on YouTube and Vimeo. Thank you everyone for watching, and as always, thank you for choosing OptiTrack.